Well, we're back to finish what we started yesterday, and the Iron Lady is back with us too. I'm Bunker Bob Steinhagen, and this is the Bunker Bob Show. Thanks for being with us. Yeah, so yesterday was quite a day. We had an electrical a power outage, and apparently 7,800 or more meters in the area were out. So a lot of people had the same power problem that we did, and that's the problem going live on a show like this. And then yesterday, when we tried to get back, I was really pushing the time as fast as I could, and ran up against an even more pressing challenge, which obviously is the most important thing. That's our family. I had to take my daughter to soccer practice, and something that I love to do, and won't apologize for to cut a show short. Obviously, if anyone knows anything about that, that would be who we had on our show yesterday, and that, of course, was the Iron Lady herself, Adrienne Balcom. And so I am, Adrienne. It is great to have you back again. And one of the things that we want to do today is really kind of finish where we left off, and try and complete the job, if you will. So how are you today?
I'm doing great, thank you.
All right, so what's that?
So thank you for enduring the electrical power outage. So.
Yeah, no kidding. But you understand family comes first, and so I appreciate you letting me cut you off yesterday. Was there, before we move forward, I just want to know, was there anything else, because we had left off where Council Member Dahl had basically talked about how he wanted more amenities for Sonoma Verde. Was there anything else that you didn't say that you wanted to say? So I'm going to let you have the floor.
Sure. Well, what I wanted to say, and I didn't get to say yesterday, was, I did leave off to say that excuse you, because, here as homeowners, we're here and we have to pay HOA fees for, the maintenance of amenities. And for someone outside of our community who has no authority, and when it comes to HOA matters, speak like that, it's and claim that he has a whole bunch of constituents talking to him about getting more amenities. All that costs has to be paid from somebody, and I don't think he's really fully aware that it's going to be the homeowner that pays for that. If the developer is still involved between now and before 75% of homeowners eventually take over the HOA board, they would have to pay out of pocket. But even still, somebody still has to pay for all of those maintenance of the amenities, and that would be the homeowner. And we already are paying a pretty good chunk of change for it. So I just think it was pretty outlandish for him to even say something like that. And I think he really needs to be worried about his own HOA and what's in his own backyard with that metal shack. So
yeah, no kidding. And what I found interesting as well is even the developer said that they had asked homeowners what was important to them, what are the things that they want to see, and they basically said that we're responding to what the homeowners in Sonoma Verde, the large majority of them at least, have expressed, and that's that they want to see some more ball fields. And so that's essentially what I think is being missed, is that there is going to be a significantly larger ball fields that are going to be added to this development and than were originally planned. Isn't that right?
Well, it was always planned to have these type of amenities. It's just the problem is that, like in my situation when I first got here, there was nothing here. I mean, there wasn't even a hole for the pool yet.
Right.
So I mean, I've been seeing it from the very beginning. So has it always been part of the plan? Yeah, because I was part of the communications and sending out newsletters, and it's all been consistent that yes, there will be a baseball, and also there was supposed to be a soccer field, so and a park. So all of that has been communicated all throughout the time that they've been here. So, but yeah, it's long awaited, and we're looking forward to it, and can't wait to our kids to be able to use it.
Yeah, but my point is that the original plat or the original design was for 1 or 2 acres, and they've actually expanded it to something like 7. Isn't that right?
I think that they had originally it was a mixed use area for it was involving like senior living mixed use area, and the senior living was that would have been a separate additional fee for an HOA fee that they would have to pay for those type of amenities. But what was interesting is that they will be able to use not only their amenities, which could be like assisting living kind of type of amenities. They could also use the rest of the development, like the pool, and have access to it, because obviously they may have grandkids, they may want to swim in the pool and the tennis court and things of that nature. So that was just kind of like designated as a mixed use area.
Okay, you mentioned a senior center. What do you, can you expand on that?
Yeah, there was. I mean, in the development agreement, it talked about possibly like maybe another structure, and they kind of listed an area, but they didn't specifically say that how it was going to be constructed, because that's like in a future phase. Because right now they were focused on single family homes, because that kind of helps to get the process of the phases going, because that's what their first focus is. So yeah, they do have planning for senior living, like it's going to be age restricted. I would presume that was going to be the requirements.
Well, wait a minute. Let's be careful, because they were very specific in what they said at the meeting. Remember, they said that they had added the option to have a senior living center. But they said that those plans are really, they have no, at this time they have no plans to do that, but they could if that's what the community really wants, and if they can find a builder or a builder who wants to develop a senior living center. Isn't that what they said?
I think we're talking about two different things, because
okay.
I think there's a misunderstanding a little bit about what that was looking like. If you looked at the map, again, the area that will be the park area, it wasn't going to be like a facility, like a nursing home, like type, or an assisted living kind of thing. I mean, this is
so it wasn't going to be like an apartment complex type assisted living.
No, because there's no room for that there.
Okay.
And so now there's going to be an area in future phases, but it's going to be closer to the lift station when you kind of you're going into Sonoma Verde. They kind of had an idea of a one road area that was going to be dedicated to. It could look like townhomes. I'm not sure. I'm just speculating, but it was going to be an area that was possibly going to be an area for senior homes, where they would have to be, they would have to set some sort of restrictions that it's dedicated for that. But for an area for them to kind of like have a place to have their own amenities, like maybe it's like an area where they can be able to have activities, things of that nature. That hasn't really been honed in on where that's going to be, because again, it's based on market and who they're going to find to be able to meet that demand, if that's really necessary, or it could be made within one of the buildings on that one road. We just don't. There's not really a dedicated area yet.
Yeah, I'm almost positive that it did not include townhomes, because if you remember, we talked yesterday about the maximum number of dwellings that were allowed is going to be right under 1,100. So they couldn't, if they did multifamily home, that was not part of the development agreement as it was originally. Now, when Councilman Dahl's talking about negotiating with the developer and stuff like that, I'm sure. In fact, it was funny when, and I don't know if it was who it was, but one of the people with the developer was kind of like, oh, okay, you guys want to do that? Great. I mean, it was almost like, yeah, we'll do a multifamily facility if that's what you want, but they would have to change the development agreement substantially, because right now it is quite restricted to that 1,100 and it does not allow for multifamily.
Correct. I mean, that's why I'm saying, like, I think it's just one area, and it could be like it's definitely going to be smaller homes, because obviously you're downsizing and you're not going to have like a huge plot
Sure,
of land.
sure.
So, but again, yes, I don't think the change of the number it was 1095. I think they were just kind of including that area in a future phase. It wasn't going to be in phase 2. I don't know. I don't see how that was even.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, I agree. It wasn't in phase 2. It wasn't in any. I mean, it was just an option that they included. It was a change amendment to the original agreement that they had, to allow for that option to be in there. But again, like you're saying, it's not multifamily. So go ahead.
Just one more thing about
Yeah.
that is that if they were going to have like anything like a senior facility, a senior, they would kind of need like an area for those seniors to be existing, and they don't have that now. So, and I think there was a little bit of confusion because they were thinking that, oh, well, that was an amenity for our current, the people that are living in phase 1 to be able to utilize. And no, that was, this was supposed to be dedicated for possible, senior living that has, age restrictions, and it was just going to be like one road in one part of the phase that in a future phase.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. So as far as the changes to the development agreement, none have been made, and the city and the developer would have to memorialize that in a contract. It would have to be in writing. Nothing like that has happened. One of the things that the Doctor of Finance, as I call him, Scott Turnbull, found that he alerted me this morning, and by the way, just for the record, so everyone knows, I received the message at 6 a.m. this morning. And so the reason that's important is because Scott Turnbull is not a morning person. Why that's important is because he added to the message, by the way, this message is not being sent at this ungodly hour. It has been scheduled to be sent out, and so you can't pin this on me that I was up this early. So he is definitely not a morning person. All kidding aside, he sent me a text or a message basically saying that he was not aware, and it's a great point that he makes, that he was not aware that the city of McLennan Chisholm owns the water lines that are inside the city, inside the Sonoma Verde development. And the reason he said that is because he was watching yesterday's show where Chris Cooney was on, and where he talked about that. So let me replay what Chris Cooney said yesterday so that you can get the caught up on what he's talking about. Here is Chris.
Unfortunately, we were looking to do a water line that was going to go all the way to Terrell. We hit a snag with the North Texas Municipal Water District in the city of Terrell, so we had to backtrack. So RCH actually provides the water, but we were able to work out an agreement with the city and RCH that the city actually owns the water lines that are in Sonoma Verde. Now that's important because at some point in time, whenever you decide it's time to, and it may be 10 years, it may be 20, it may be 50, I don't know. But at the point in which you decide that you want to get into the water business and you want to be a part of a regional system, you won't have to condemn those lines and you won't have to buy those lines. Those are city lines. You can use those lines as you pledge bonds for future road projects in other parts of the city. It's a benefit to the city.
Yeah, so why that's important, and especially for people like you, former council. I keep calling you councilwoman, but council member. But the reason it's important is because those of you who live inside Sonoma Verde, you are. Did you know that you are paying the same amount of money that I pay in Quail Creek, and for water service? Because if you'll look on your water bill, I believe that's on your water bill. But what you're paying for is not just water. You're not just paying for that, but you're also paying for maintenance of your water lines. So if, for instance, if you have a water main break in your neighborhood, well, then RCH would then be responsible to go and fix that. Well, in the city, inside Sonoma Verde, that responsibility is on the city. So if you live inside Sonoma Verde, the big question that I would have as a resident is, why are we paying a maintenance cost? Because the same maintenance cost, at least, that everyone else is paying, because you guys don't own our water lines. How do you feel about that, Adrian? Adrian, are you there?
Paying an extra fee, or I mean,
well, you're paying more. I mean, you're basically paying the same amount for your water as I am. I live in Quail Creek. RCH owns our water lines. They don't own yours. The city owns yours. You pay taxes. Now, the one thing I'm not sure of is that I don't understand is, so when you say the city owns it, when Chris was talking about the city owning it, and I may give him a call and find out, does that mean that the city owns it through the PID, or that the city owns it outright? Because the way he was presenting it is that the city actually owns those water lines. So my point is, you're paying the same cost that I pay, and part of the cost that I pay to RCH is a maintenance fee, so that if a water main were to break, a line were to break in our neighborhood, for instance, the lines that come into our neighborhood, that would pay for that repair. In Sonoma Verde, however, the city is responsible for that repair.
From the agreement that we're talking about, the development agreement for Sonoma Verde, it's in there that the city, is owning that, and also that it will prepare them for the future if they were to get into the water business. So that's what I
think you missed my point. You're so forget that. Think of yourself as a homeowner in Sonoma Verde.
I understand that part. It's just that, at the end of the day, the person that's the people that would be involved to try to negotiate a better deal would be the city council. Could talk to the RCH about that. That's something that they can do. But
exactly, and that's my point. So instead of the city council focusing on things that they have no control over, why aren't they focusing on the things that they do have control over? And that is, hey guys, we own those water lines, you don't. Why are you charging a fee unless the city is getting some kind of fee from RCH? Do you know of any fee that they're getting from RCH?
I don't think so. I mean, all I know is that if they could improve it, but again, I don't think they really know all the things that they can do as the council member.
No, the council, right. But I thought that was a very interesting point that Scott brought up, and it certainly wasn't missed on me. And I think if those in the city council really want to help those who live in Sonoma Verde, well, then I think what they can do is they can talk to RCH. Of course, I don't know if he's still the chairman of the RCH Water Board, but Jack Pullen, the former councilman, one of the longest serving members of the city council, was the chair of it while he was a member of city council, and of course, apparently there's no conflict of interest of that. But regardless, why is it that's the case? I think I'd like to know, and as mayor, I never knew that was the case. So I think if we want to serve the citizens of McLennan Chisholm, or if the council does, well, they should look into that. Now, one of the things that we highlighted yesterday was a gentleman who came up and talked to the city council and basically said that there was a unilateral change to the development agreement, which was not true at all. There was no unilateral. There was no change to the development agreement that was outside of the four corners of the contract, of the development contract, which this gentleman who has two Facebook groups, Friends Uniting for McLennan Chisholm and another one of these things. All they are is just complete political politically leftist points of view for the political left. They're a vehicle for the political left in Sonoma Verde, especially because that's where he lives. But this is another one of the things that he said, and it again, it goes to the heart of what I'm talking about why we're getting why there's so much misinformation out there. So here's what he says, and this is what he says about why the city council should not approve the bonds. Watch this.
We've heard about, this is amenity, and I know this isn't about the PID, but the possibility of plans to enclose a portion of the amenity center. Until people actually get off their asses and do something, don't give them a penny. They've told us, and they've told us, and they've told us they're going to do X, Y, and Z, and they've yet to do it. Do not give them a dime until they do it. It's not complete. There's no timetable. Don't give people money. If you go out and do a job, you don't get paid until it's complete.
Yeah. Okay, so if you have a job and it's not complete, you don't give them any money, and that's basically what they want. That's what Mr. Agee is trying to urge them to do. But what's interesting is a person that he helped win election says different, and here's what Mr. Councilman Dahl has to say about that. Let's watch this.
The developer went out to fulfill the conditions were met, and now it's the burden of the city to fulfill their end of the obligation by issuing bonds for the PID. The developer, having legally completed everything that they needed to do to be issued PID bonds, if the city does not issue them PID bonds, the city breaks the legal agreement and opens the city up for lawsuits, which is exactly what happened.
Which is not at all what happened, by the way, with the cell phone tower. Not at all. The two are not even closely related. So what do you? So let's clarify this, Ms. Balcom. Did the city meet their obligation to release those bonds, did the developer meet their obligations according to the four corners of the development agreement?
Absolutely, they did. It was we've been watching this. All the construction, they've had to submit items to the PID administrator. It's kind of like an audit, similarly to like an annual report, and that's why they would come up to do the updates to the city council, and all of the numbers like add up to what is on the offering document that was presented to them. I think it was on May 28th, and that was the bond council that spoke to them and told them, this is what they were presenting to them, and so it was an offering letter, and that offering letter is what was being discussed at this last council meeting. Was on June 11th. That's what it was, the date. And anyway, so they were supposed to just review the financial information, and again, they could have referred back to the PID administrator, but they didn't really talk to the PID administrator. They talked to everybody else besides the PID administrator or even the city attorney in regard to the bonds at that time, because they didn't review, they didn't prepare very well as far as learning about what was the PID, what was the development agreement, what was the SAP, which is Service Assessment Plan, which the Services Assessment Plan is very important because that is what sets the timeline. This is what sets the schedule of all these things. And so everything that individual was talking about clearly is not informed. He was just using that as a reasoning, or just making this information to make it insinuate that they had not met their agreement that was told to the residents. So
yeah, so one of the things that when we were doing show prep, and you had some documents that you wanted to highlight or were highlighting for me. Do you want to highlight any of those now so that the citizens can see what we were talking about?
Yeah. Let's see if we can you see my screen?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, so this is a about 49-page development agreement, and it tells you clearly, like, about the development, and this talks about the wastewater agreement right here, and it tells you what they're doing with the land, and what they're agreeing to, the infrastructure. Let's see if you can see right here. It says the owner, the owner is the developer, by the way, will consent to and support the efforts of the city to be the retail provider of water and wastewater service to the development property. So there, right there, it includes in this development that they could potentially be the retail provider for water, right there. So let's see, what else would you like to see? The public improvements here. Let's see. So the owner's intended development of the development property includes the design, construction, and installation of public infrastructure. This will benefit the city and its current and future citizens without any capital investment by the city. So that there tells you that all the risk and all it's coming from the developer side here. So it's not on the city at all. And if you go back up here, it says some of the water, wastewater, roads, drainage, and other public infrastructure necessary convenient for the development of the development property is currently not available. That tells you, like, they have to put it in. So let's see. So it says to facilitate the owner's intended development of the development property in a cost-effective and market-competitive manner, the owner intends to construct a variety of public improvements that will confer a special benefit on the development property, such as the public improvements, and that shall include but are not limited to the public infrastructure. So, I mean, it's a lot of the information that Mr. Cooney was talking about is in here, and he even talks about the city council. The parties anticipate that the city will consider the creation of the public improvement district, which already happened, encompassing the development property, which is the area of Sonoma Verde, and it's based on the state statute, Chapter 372, and it's adopted by the city council of a service assessment plan. See right there, this underlined area right here, and it's an ordinance called an assessment ordinance levying special assessments on the development property to finance the construction of the public improvements, the issuance of one or more series of revenue bonds, individual PID bond series, and collectively the PID bonds secured by the special assessments on the development property. So there, right there, kind of just encompasses the entire thing of what has transpired all this time during the schedule.
Yeah, and the bonds are sold on the private market. They have nothing whatsoever to do with government taxation. It doesn't interfere in taxation. If there's some default on those bonds, the bondholders are the ones that are left holding the bag, not the homeowners and lot owners inside the PID or inside Sonoma Verde. The reason this is such a good thing for investors is it is a very safe investment because there's real property involved. You have a city that is basically ensuring that all of this is going to move forward, and you have a taxing division, the Rockwall County Appraisal District, that is basically ensuring that the assessments are going to be collected. And that's key, because if you want a return on your investment, you've got to do that. The yield is not high. You're talking about a 3% yield over I think 2024 is the first date that you can pull money out. I think that you can go all the way up to 2049, but the yield percentage is almost just less than 1% more for that kind of long-term investment. So for investors, it's a win for those who are looking for safe long-term investments. But again, it has the city's risk. There is no risk really to the city. It's all borne by the investors themselves. Am I right?
I think we've pretty wrapped that up pretty good there. So yeah, and just to remember that they had to create a PID, a public improvement district, so that you understand that this is not a tax. If it was a tax, then the money would be coming into the general fund. So
Exactly.
And that's the difference. This is going into a different bank account. This is going to basically take care of the infrastructure and to pay back. Monies are used to pay a portion of that infrastructure back to the developer and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of needed to be able to continue each phase. And it, again, in the development agreement, it pretty much states pretty clearly that they will be doing this. There's 5 phases. Each of the phases will have the same process done.
Yep. So I think we've, from our perspective, the horse is dead, but people are still going to beat this horse because they and send out information that is just simply not true about the PID and try and demonize the developer. The fact of the matter is, if you want to demonize, if you want to get angry at anyone, the people you should be getting mad at are the people who made this thing possible in the first place, and that was back in 2007. And you can, I mean, ironically, the PID was established by Gary Moody, Mayor Gary Moody, and Hatfield and Pullen and those guys. The development was approved, and the development agreement was signed and approved by former Mayor Mike Donegan. So these are the people that people should be frustrated with, not the developer. The developer's doing what they're required to do. And again, what I find fascinating about this, all of the things that are being sent out, and all of the people who go to the city council meetings and grouse and try to get the city to do what is a civil matter. If they feel like the developer is not followed through on the promises, on the legal promises that they were made to those homeowners, guess what? You have a legal remedy. It's in the courts, and you handle it from a civil point of view. But everything is politics, and so many of these people who stood up, they worked very hard to get the Dahls, the Wosners, the Kippets in office, so that they would do their dirty work. And unfortunately, what they're finding is they're not very good at following through on so-called promises, but which is why you've got Councilmember Dahl who's making more promises, saying, "Hey, we'll do it in phase 3. We're not going to be constrained by some legal document." And the fact is, you were constrained. The city of McLennan Chisholm was constrained by a legal document back when the development agreement was signed. So that is neither here nor there at this point. And let's move on to, if we could, the agenda for tonight's meeting. We have a couple of things, and Adrian, one of the things that, again, I think you did a fantastic job of when you were on city council. Ironically, you were kind of the communications person. You did an amazing job. Citizens were well informed about what was going on if they wanted to be, especially on the website. But what also you took on was this idea once or the fact that we've got so much income coming in through online purchases. Those franchise fees actually come to the city of McLennan Chisholm, something that I was not aware of, something that you kind of unearthed. And you when you were on council, you started going after these companies and asking the state attorney general. You went to the Rockwall, the taxing divisions. You started saying, "Hey, these taxes that are going to other cities, they're coming to McLennan Chisholm. They need to be in McLennan Chisholm." One of those is a tax on your phone bill, and Encore, right, is on the agenda tonight.
No, that's something else. No.
Oh, it's not Encore.
Yeah, we're talking about telecommunications.
Telecommunications. Thank you very much. I apologize.
Just to clarify a little bit, so I started doing research on trying to find other ways for the city to, have monies contributed to our general fund. And so I started looking at our finances, and one of the things I discovered was like how do we make sure that the money that we're supposed to be getting or collecting is supposed how do we know that it's actually supposed to be getting to us? And so I started asking questions to the Texas Comptroller's office. so so I started asking questions with them and all that, and
which is a taxing division.
Yes, it was kind of difficult to kind of get to them because you have to find out who do you actually talk to. So it was a lot of like back and forth trying to find the right person. And so anyway, so when I finally got a hold of the right person to speak with, there really isn't a way for us as a city to make sure that we are getting the monies from these vendors. I mean, they do their own auditing directly because they can, that's on their end. So we're having to trust the comptroller's office that the money's actually coming in. Well, through that, I did learn about the telecommunications is another form of revenue that could be coming into the city, and a lot of cities we actually don't do it yet. It's on the agenda to discuss and to add an ordinance to it, and to be able to start having monies come from the like AT&T bill and other types of mobile services that you may have, or any type of I don't know what other cell phone companies that you may be using, or other landline services that you may be using. That whoever you use, there will be a tax from the city of McLennan-Chisholm on there, and that money will be going to our general fund, just like other monies that will be coming in from the things that we charge for on the row. Right of way is what row stands for. So through that, so hopefully the council would read up on that and read the recommendation. That the city administrator didn't really have a general idea of like how much revenue we could potentially come in with, but I think it's kind of common sense if you would know that most people are kind of using their cell phones. There's probably multiple people in a home. They're using their cell phones. We probably have on average of 2 mobile phones being used per household, so we could potentially have revenue coming in every 3 months from being collected from that.
Yeah, I mean the potential could be big, but this is, I mean, from the staff report on this issue, one of what it says is basically that the Texas tax code exempts municipalities from imposing local sales taxes on telecommunication services unless a city repeals the exemption by ordinance. Thus, the city of McLennan-Chisholm does not currently collect sales tax from telecommunication services. And the financial impact, repealing the local sales tax exemption for telecommunication services, will be an additional revenue source for the city. So basically, the comptroller's office closely protects the confidentiality of taxpayers, so it's difficult to determine the amount that will be collected, although any additional revenue will have a positive financial impact, and that's what's being done here at this by saying that they are going to be repealing the exemption on this sales tax or this taxing of the telecommunications system, which really is because we don't know, obviously, what you just said. We don't know how much money that's going to be, but you certainly don't. I mean, if it's there, you certainly don't want to miss the opportunity to bring in that income, since as conservatives believe in consumption taxes. So, what's that?
It's a usage tax.
Usage tax, right?
Then that should be a taxable. I mean, it makes sense to me to have that. I do know that whenever I was kind of like going through questioning, because they did provide me that document, the repealing document, and anyway, so from the tax controller's office, they did that, and like this is the process that you need to do, and then you have to do the ordinance process and stuff. So, anywho.
This is, but I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I mean, this is something that you started.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, so this is just this is your legacy. I mean, what you're doing is you've helped to basically highlight and focus on. Wait a minute, there is money being paid in taxation, but some cities are not collecting their share of those taxes.
Yeah. I just wish that we can go back to the waste collection issue, because I think that we missed out on that whenever I brought that up to
absolutely.
So I'm hoping that they're doing a better job now. I haven't checked on to see if they are trying to make sure that they are checking with the account, making sure that we are receiving all those monies that were supposed to be collected. So.
Well, absolutely, and if you're not familiar with that, we talked about that in a previous show where we had the Iron Lady on. So look at that. That was a few weeks ago that we talked about that very important issue. Anything else of note on the agenda for tonight?
I think they're reviewing appointments or applications for public for P&Z, for planning and zoning, and also for Board of Adjustments. So.
Very good, and so those are the key things that we're seeing on that. And so, are you do you expect any fireworks tonight?
I don't know. I mean, it could possible any councilman can have fireworks, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I guess possible, but not probable. I mean, it looks like a fairly benign agenda tonight, but like you said, you never can tell. Adrian, thank you again for coming on my show and being subjected to all the craziness here. I do want you back, obviously, because you do bring a wealth of information and help in everything that, especially as it relates to these council meetings. You attend these, so I appreciate you doing that. And when you can't attend, the good thing is we've got some we've got it being broadcast, and I think that's a good step forward for the city, and that's again part of your legacy. You had started broadcasting for free when I was mayor, but the new council didn't like that, and they decided, well, we need to be paying something for this. We need to be spending taxpayer dollars, and so they kind of forced your hand at that. And you did a good job. So thank you for that. Thanks for being on the show today, Adrian. And obviously we'll see you next time, right?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, and for those of you who are subscribers, thank you for subscribing. Not a lot of you, but this is a new show, and I do want to let you know that over the next few weeks and months, we're going to be expanding some things. We're going to be doing trying to broaden our viewership by promoting what we're doing in different ways, and so I hope that you'll stay tuned for that and support what we're doing. And remember, as always, if you have questions or comments, please don't hesitate to contact me on my email by email. It's bob@bunkerbob.com. So I guess we will see you on Thursday, and I hope that you have a great day. We'll see you next time. Thanks again.